Neil Ward, you probably wouldn't know the name, or you might, but you know what he does. I mean, you've been in the audience to look at the product that he produces. And I read the other day that Neil Ward was going to retire, just going to retire. So I said, we got to get him on the show, and here he is.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be at the table.
Yeah, well, it's a little crowded.
Looks too young to me.
Yeah, it's good genes.
Well, he is. How long has that career been?
Almost 40 years. I started when I was about 26, I think, as publicity manager at the Festival Centre, green as grass, and worked with some great shows. Back in those days, the centre was producing.
Drop some names.
Well, we did big ones were like King and I with Hayley Mills. We did South Pacific. Was another big hit musical here.
We did Oklahoma too, didn't we?
Before that, Oklahoma as well. Well, most recently Singing in the Rain, but back then there was also 42nd Street with Nancy Hayes and Tony Lamond and Todd McKenney. There was some really great...
Sunset Boulevard?
I didn't work on Sunset Boulevard, but I went to the opening night in Melbourne. So that was... Sunset never came here, so I really focused mainly on things at the Festival Centre. And then in about 94, I'd just done Me and My Girl, Rachel Beck, and John Nichols was the producer for that. And I was really quite burnt out. Work was just coming all the time. So I took the leap of faith to leave and go out and be freelance. And I have been for 30 years.
And we're not producing any of those great big shows anymore, are we?
No, sadly
Is that
not.
money? What's wrong?
Well, John Frost is from South Australia, from Adelaide boy. He produced a lot of those big successful shows, and including Wicked, which is a great thrill to work on as well. But it doesn't seem to be that. The Festival Centre is government money, so they have to be careful of what they're seen to be doing with, this sort of thing. It's unfortunate that, you can invest in that, in the arts, and it will give you a return. It's risky. That's the thing.
Yes, but surely that's the excitement of it too, because there's not a guaranteed return. You're not. We had Rebel Penfold Russell on the show a little while ago. And producing Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, must have been a considerable... She told us the story, how, from a timing point of view, it probably had everything not going for it.
Yes, that's right. It's a very risky business. I mean, show business, where did the money go business? It's a little sort of line. And you can really lose your shorts. But John Frost, again, was very astute, and it was great working with him. I went to New York for the opening of The King and I on Broadway, and working with the Rodgers and Hammerstein people, and that was a wonderful experience, that opening night, to go to a Broadway opening night. It's sort of sad that we've lost that in South Australia, that building a show, opening it here and sending it around the country and to the world.
Yes, but we did it so well and we did it so often. It must be for the theatrical entrepreneur a sad moment in our history when we just don't seem to have the courage. Maybe the people have up and gone to greener pastures or richer pastures or something.
That's right. Also, I suppose, everything has changed. My work, the way I used to operate with sort of traditional media, print, radio and TV. So that's all sort of changed now with all the social platforms have come in and a kind of competitions to live theatre. But it's great to see things like, I worked on the last season, not the one that just left Adelaide, of Chicago, which is a fabulous show. Carolyn O'Connor played Velma Kelly in that one years ago. And it was great to hear, we had left it too late. My wife and I, we were going to book tickets to Chicago that was just a few weeks ago, and it had sold out. And I thought, well, that's great. Yeah. In this day and age where the discretionary income can be really cut with the cost of everything, that a season is selling out, has sold out.
How important is the promotion for a major theatrical production?
It's very important. I mean, it used to be said that, a third of the budget needed to be spent on marketing.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So, and that, I mean, now you would spend it in different ways now. I'm sure you would be going through Instagram or you'd be doing Facebook things and, you wouldn't be taking out, big ads in the advertiser anymore.
I don't think people are buying the advertiser.
No, I don't think, I think they've are destroying their readership.
Yeah, Professor Plimer, who's just left, the point he made was that the media, press, radio and television seem to be in a death spiral.
It's true. I see that because just before my retirement, I noticed how difficult it was to get coverage for certain arts events. In TV news, cameras just wouldn't come. They wouldn't, not because they weren't particularly interested. They didn't have the staff. They had been cut back and cut back and cut back. And one wonders, whether how do you make a cake if you don't have any eggs or you can't afford to buy the milk? Or that's right. It
doesn't make any sense to be in the business.
No. When I wonder sometimes, whether the TV and radio licenses, which were a license to print money, I suppose, in a way, are worth the paper they're,
No, well, it's a license to make money, and it's also a license to lose money if you do the wrong thing. My
same with entrepreneurship with shows. Yes, if you do the,
my belief is that there are too many. I've got nothing against accountants, but they have a place. But they should not be controlling the talent. They should not be calling those creative shots.
This is exactly right. Years ago, when we had all those local TV shows, and certainly people in radio will say, program directors, for example, who usually came in and had absolutely no experience of programming, and yes, the money people destroyed the creativity, I think.
Yeah, the roar of the grease paint and the smell of the crowd.
But I do think that's true. They saw this is just fantastic. We can just make more money, and we can shut down Adelaide and we can broadcast from Sydney.
Yeah, it's all about money. They've lost their soul.
Yes,
or they've sold their soul.
Sold their soul.
I'm just thinking in my head about some of the great promotions that I've had the privilege to witness. Michael, I'm trying to think of Michael Edgley's wife.
Edgley, yes.
She was terrific. Did you ever meet her?
I know Michael quite well because I was most recently working on, he doesn't have a lot to do with it anymore, but the Great Moscow Circus.
Oh, that's right. Yes, it was a great circus. It was a great circus family. He and his mother, she was a great character.
Yes, she was,
I can't think of her name.
She was in the Edna Edgley.
Edna Edgley, yes.
Not Edna Everidge.
Edna Edgley.
She was. I was doing the Australian ballet seasons at Romeo and Juliet, and she had like a guest role, a little walk on as the nurse. So
they did Man from Snowy River, I think, and they also did what was the one about Phar Lap?
Oh, well, it was called Phar Lap, wasn't it? Yeah. I think it was, yeah.
And their promotion for that was, I'll never forget it, they hired a DC-3, and I think we took off from Parafield or somewhere like that. And their idea was that they would get all of the people who were doing talk programs or could possibly influence an audience or give a show promotion. And they took us all to Melbourne, to the Flemington Racecourse, where they were going to rerun for the filming. They were going to rerun the 1929 Melbourne Cup. Yeah.
You were going to be a witness to the...
we were extras.
You were the extras, okay.
So, you see, you're guaranteeing that these guys are going to go back to their radio stations or their newspaper columns, and they're going to write it all up and talk it all up.
What happened today? Oh, not much.
Oh, it's guaranteed. And they put us all in period costume, and we were extras, and the movie took on a personal significance.
Yes.
God, I've just been in a movie. I got to talk about that. And of course we did. Yes. But where's that flair gone?
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's right. Those the showman or show person flair.
Yeah.
It's, seems to be lost in the wash. I have done a few films. We did quite a few films for Polygram Filmed Entertainment, years ago. And, but one of the bigger ones was Shine, of course, which is how I got to know Scott Hicks. And, we also did one with Molly Ringwald called Cut. It also had, Kylie Minogue in it as well. Yeah. So, it was a teen slasher movie. It wasn't very good, but, the daring do of those promotions is not really to be seen.
No.
Anymore.
One of the things we were talking to Rebel about was that movie with Zero Mostel called The Producers.
Oh, I love that film.
Wasn't it wonderful?
Yeah, I saw the production of it in New York, and not with the original cast, but it was still very good. Yeah. And again, John Frost produced it in Australia.
Did it come here?
Yeah, didn't come to Adelaide.
No.
This is always a problem for various reasons, but Reg Livermore played Max Bialystock in the production in Melbourne, and Mel Brooks is very clever. I mean, was he 98? I think.
Yes, he's still going strong.
Yeah, it's amazing,
remarkable.
But there's some fabulous shows out there. I mean, really. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to work with some wonderful people. I mean, Nancy Hayes, Tony Lamond.
Oh, you've got some pictures.
Oh, yes, I've got some.
Who's your favourite?
Well, Nancy's lovely.
Is Nancy still with us?
Yes.
Good.
They were all, June Bronhill.
Yes.
Gwen Plum.
Oh, I used to work with her at 2GB.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Who's my favourite?
Gwen
Ray Desmond. She was wonderful.
Ray Desmond, yes.
So I was lucky I was young and I had seen these people on TV. And so I was lucky enough to be able to,
Debbie Reynolds
with them, like Lionel Williams and Kevin Crease. They used to do pantos when I was watching TV as a kid.
Yes.
That was the creative days of The Miracle and Tint Street, Channel 9.
Yes.
And yes, it's a wonderful book. I gave a copy to Bert Newton. He was very happy about that. Bert was wonderful, of course.
Yeah, he was a showman.
Yeah, he was a showman.
Yesterday, in fact, was the anniversary of Tom Playford opening Rupert Murdoch's NWS9 station there in Tint Street.
Okay. Wow.
All those years ago.
Yeah.
Now, who's that?
Oh, that's Noel Ferrier.
Oh, Noel Ferrier, yes.
Yes, he was directing a production. I'm not sure if it wasn't Dial In for Murder. I can't remember.
I love theatrical people.
It was on Blankety Blanks.
And Beauty and the Beast years ago.
Oh, yes.
So as I was saying, I was lucky enough to see a lot of these people on Australian TV, and then you're working with them, and Barry Humphries was fantastic.
Yes.
A show here he's done many shows in Adelaide, but I publicised one about Sandy Stone, which was one of his great characters. And Sandy actually dies in the show, so that was the sort of the end of Sandy. But yeah, Max
Gillies, isn't he wonderful? Max Gillies. Were there any really terrible people that you had to deal with?
I have to say, not really. Some highly strung, a little bit. I think not so much in the performers' side of things, but
Hayley Mills
to get. Yes, Hayley was in King and I. Wasn't a very good singer, but did a wonderful job otherwise acting. Usually, the most difficult people are the producers, because they're the money. It's their money,
yes.
Or the executive producer, and maybe the director. And on occasion, John Diedrich, who I've worked with on a few times, he had the role of director, star, and producer. It's too much, and he was, he was sort of scary because he had far too much on it, and he was, I thought, oh God, what am I going to do here? But we got through that, and then he was much, much nicer because he didn't have all that pressure. It's the pressure, and I think too that the actors, they're usually in a pretty good space because they're working and they want to do this. Like, you want to sit here today and do this. You're not being forced to do it. You're not paid enough. All of that. And they are flowering, even if it's a tough day. And I have to say that's pretty much the case. But if you get that overlap, I think if there's a director-producer overlap, you're...
Is the financial imperative now much tougher than it was back in those days?
I don't think it's any less, put it that way. It probably is. It probably is tougher, especially at the moment with, as I said, with the cost of, the interest rates and the cost of everything going up, the discretionary income, that can be scary for the producer.
I keep thinking that really, in all honesty, you and I have seen the best of it. It's never going to come back, I don't think.
I think that too, yes.
Timothy West, great actor, Sir John Mills.
Yeah.
All personally signed to you.
Yes, to me.
There's a wonderful book in here. Are you going to write a book, or have you written a book?
No, I haven't written a book. I'm not planning to, but I did have all these photographs framed once, and then...
Oh, yes.
I will get them done again, I think, sometime. I mean, you don't even get these photographs anymore. When I started, you would say, my first job was with great Judith Johnson, publicist in Sydney, rang and said, would you do, an evening with Clive James?
Oh, yes.
And that was my first freelance job. I hadn't had the backing of the festival centre behind me. I didn't have a computer. I didn't have a fax machine. I had a telephone.
But you had talent. You see, you had talent and you were promoting talent.
Yes. And they would say, okay, Neil, how many black and whites, 10 by 8 black and whites do you want? How many colour transparencies of Clive do you want? And then you would, get the media release done up, or they would sometimes send you the media release.
They were professionals, weren't they? They were pros.
That's right. And then you'd post those out, put the stamp, put them in the envelopes, put the stamps on every one.
And it worked.
Yeah. And then you'd have to send these photographs, these sites that we're looking at now, and I kept some back. You would have to post those as well. And then you'd get the terrible call from, say, the Messenger newspapers, sadly gone, at Port Adelaide, that they've lost the shot of Sir John Mills. Could you courier another one this afternoon? It's going to cost you, $30 or $40 to get someone to drive it. And now we can email them.
Yeah.
So it's it's very different.
What was Prunella Scalzi?
She was in a one-woman show called Queen Victoria in the Playhouse. Yeah. Yeah.
She was a great actor in Fawlty Towers.
Yes, yeah. She's a sweetie.
When you look at the talent today, it seems, and it's invaded radio as well, but on television you see it, sort of very low-budget things with stand-up comics. Everyone is a stand-up comic. And they've got a shtick. Once they've done that, it's not funny anymore. There's nothing left. I don't think they sit down and write new stuff.
No.
So where are the talented people
that's right.
who used to grace our stages and our screens?
I think some of them are on Instagram, but I don't know how that works for them.
No, I don't either.
I mean, I see things. I mean, Chris Lilly is I think
he's funny. Yeah.
And he can create a scenario. There's very little sketch comedy anymore. As you said, it's just stand up, or it's just panel shows, or it's what do you call reality TV?
Jamie Private Schoolgirl was good.
Oh yes, that's right. Yes, Sleeping with Wombats. Summer Heights High. Mr. G.
Personally, a lot of people don't like it because it's a bit too
that's right.
Incorrect now.
Yeah.
In fact, I think he was ostracized.
Yes, he did lose. I think he lost. He's now on Netflix, I believe. So, yeah.
I think he's coming back.
Yeah.
Years ago, at Channel 10, I remember a producer, well, more a director than a producer, turned producer, a fellow called Jim Dale, and I put together this show. We were trying to make a pilot, because if you could make a pilot, you could probably get sponsors, and you could probably then, with the sponsorship money, convince the producer-in-chief
That's right.
executive producer that here's something, it might fly. And in any case, it's money. And as long as it didn't get shown too close to midnight, you could probably be on your way. Anyway, this thing we worked on was called Whatever Happened to Phyllis Puke? And it was, I thought, really very funny, very slapstick, but the real heart of it was Graham Bond and Peter Weir. Now, not many people know that they worked together. They had not a nightclub act, it was a stage act. And it was all about Peter Weir sitting on a park bench. And along comes Auntie Jack.
Yes, I loved Auntie Jack.
Well, he went on to do Auntie Jack. They didn't take the pilot, but I used to just rejoice in the freewheeling talent that Graham Bond and Peter Weir, who of course went on to make movies, and he's not a performer. Right. He probably wouldn't even like people talking about that park bench stuff, but it was marvelously entertaining.
Yes, that's right. And the what was the other one that we don't have anymore? The comedy. In the 80s, there was an Australian comedy sketch show.
Was it Comedy Company or?
There was the Mavis Bramston show.
There was the Mavis Bramston show before that, yes. Well before that, yeah. They had Con the Fruiterer. Yeah.
Fast Forward.
Fast Forward was great.
Yeah.
Fast Forward, yes. Con the Fruiterer.
Uncle Arthur, yeah. And Kylie Mole.
Yeah. No, well, isn't it a pity we just don't have anything like that? Because it was basically, along with the Tonight programs and variety programs, it was entertaining television. And it not only entertained people, it employed a lot of people.
Did you read that there was this thing called the Penthouse Club, and they used to get away with some great sort of things. It was basically a setup to cover the trots. So they had to fill in time between races. So they had, they'd just do what they liked. But, it was great in that way, that like the Ernie Sigley shows with the Bert Newton in the evening, Adelaide Tonight.
Yes.
There were some great, screamingly funny routines straight off the cuff.
Actually, I was just watching the other day, the very last Ernie Sigley show was on YouTube, and it was in December 1973, and Ian Fairweather was there trying to sing, and when you look back, it was so seat of the pants.
Yes, but so was Graham Kennedy.
Yes, Graham Kennedy.
And Daryl Summers did a good job with his program, and the comedy routines there were quite sensationally funny for their time.
Saturday. I mean, you've got Kath and Kim. I like them too.
Yes.
Good send-ups of the Australian. And, we lost Barry Humphries, and he's a great satirist. Edna was...
What was he like to work with? He was wonderful to interview. What was he like to work with?
Yeah, I was a bit in awe of him, I suppose.
Me too.
But he was okay. He was chatty. He did his interviews, and I was afraid. He would often say, "What sort of tree is that?" And I, of course, no. And so I felt like a moron.
But if you got him onto some of his pet subjects,
yes, yeah.
He was away. You didn't have to think of another question. He was just flying.
That's right. Yeah.
Remarkable.
And it's amazing now in legacy TV that the live shows are gone. I mean, even music shows like Countdown with Molly Meldrum, gone. And you'd think that with the amount of music that's available now, there'd be an opportunity to still have live music shows, but gone.
No, they never even got recorded, or at least preserved.
Yeah.
No.
It was a way of selling it, wasn't it?
It's all just been like with Blind Date that Jeremy was on.
Oh, yes, Blind Date.
Can't find any copies of
And the biggest live thing now on TV seems to be just sport.
Sport, yeah. Yeah, that easy, just point the...
I
know it's more difficult than that, but it's like there's a fun thing going out there. Just film it.
Yeah. Follow the ball.
Yeah. Yes, and that was a way of the countdowns and things, of sort of marketing the records, And nowadays,
well, it was promotion, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Neil?
for those companies and for those, but
particularly Australian bands. That was their first footing.
That's right, and
get exposure.
And it was great. I think that was, and I even read the other day that there are hardly any bands anymore. Everything is just solo.
No, and we've had so many bands we gave birth to here in South Australia.
Yes.
We used to have Talent, a live act on the set of Blind Date, there was always an act, and one of the musicians ended up being one of the date or something, or one of the contestants. And just about every one of those acts came from Adelaide.
Yeah, yeah. As Robin Archer said, Adelaide gave it through its amateur theatre as well. Gave people a great grounding in stagecraft.
Yeah.
She said, I learnt so much here in South Australia that I could set foot on a stage in London and I would be fine.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I'm, a hick from the sticks.
Yeah.
Well, that's how the Seekers became famous. They did well here, then they went to London. And they stayed there, I think, a lot longer than they expected to when they set out.
Is it that we are not, I know we're not sort of presenting these people, but are they, the talent today, are they out there somewhere auditioning and saying, please?
I hope so. I mean, you just get the feeling that if you don't do sport, or if you're not going to be,
you won't get noticed.
Designing a submarine, you will, go somewhere else. That's how I feel about it's. It's not. It's unworthy what you're offering.
And who's going to, now that you've retired? You have retired.
I have retired. Yes.
Who's going to do what you do?
It's got harder to do what I do because of the changes in the media, but I had a young protege, Jeff Smith, work with me, and he was really good and really keen. We were, years ago now, we were doing Hugh Jackman in The Boy from Oz together on that. And
wasn't he in Oklahoma as well?
Yeah, he was in Oklahoma in the West End in London.
Well, I saw him here in Adelaide.
You saw him here in Adelaide? Okay. Yeah. As Curly.
Yeah.
So Jeff's kind of picked up the baton. But it's a different race now. It's it's not, print, radio and TV anymore.
No.
And it is sad to see, I had a lot of connections, and they're just not there anymore.
What was
replaced?
What was the cleverest promotion that because it relied upon your imagination to capture our imagination?
I was probably a bit more sort of staid than that. I just sort of worked to get the interviews happening, as many as I could. I don't know. Nothing really, Jeremy, springs to mind that, I didn't sort of, parachute off a building or anything like that.
Skywriting?
Skywriting, no, I didn't get into that either. Again, that's probably because I was the liaison between, you had to bring the producer's needs, the director's, the production's needs, and the performer's needs all together with the media's needs. I was sort of a bit in the middle there. Other marketing people could do where there was more money and clout, I suppose. I was part of marketing, of course, but there was more clout and more daring do. I think that, and I didn't come up with this, but when we did Wicked here, these were the days when they used to like to do a big launch in Adelaide, or a big launch anywhere. And we had the cast, including Bert Newton, fly in a helicopter from the West, Wicked Witch of the West, and land in Elder Park and give go and do their press conference, that sort of thing. So, there might be more back there.
Does government now have the same appetite that it used to? Because our present Premier obviously is wishing to promote the state, but it's live golf, it's motor racing.
That's right.
It's
very
gather round. It's a lot of sport.
That's
but
right.
Is theatre a priority for government, or they
don't feel that it is? They would argue differently, I'm sure, but I don't. Yeah, we don't feel.
And on the same vein, does theatre have the benefactors that it used to?
Yeah, no. Some of those are
drying up.
Yeah. It's that. Yeah.
What are you going to do now? You're too young to retire, so you've got to have another career.
67. I'm a new grandparent for 5 weeks, and during COVID, when everything shut down, that was a bizarre period because jobs were always coming in, and everything had to be sort of shut down, and I started tinkering around with upholstery, would you believe?
Yeah.
And it's like a few things needed fixing in our house. And so, and then I did a few WEA courses, and I'm sort of itching to get back into it. When
never be useful around the house. There'll be a string of things they want you to do.
No, they won't be asking me. No, I won't be doing them.
You could become a vice chancellor.
Well, there you go. Regrets I have what did he say? Regrets I have a few, but then again too few to mention. Bill Shorten we're talking about.
Yes.
Yep. Have you ever managed talent? Managed people?
No, I haven't. Didn't want to.
No, I can understand that.
Yeah.
You probably did in a way to weave your way through the personalities and the issues.
I mean, I've worked with agents, and some of them are very extremely tough agents. We were doing David Campbell was here doing Shout, and we took him out to one of his old sort of shopping centre haunts near his school, high school, and sat him down, and he ordered a McDonald's hamburger, and I think it was for the Sunday Mail or something, and they took some pictures of him, and his agent went ballistic that he was holding a McDonald's hamburger and was not getting paid. Didn't I know what I was doing?
The agent wants his pound of flesh.
Yeah. I didn't want it.
He's the 10% that eats. How do you give him a bite of the bun? I don't know. Anyway, it's lovely to see you. Good luck in all you do, and thank you for all of the entertainment that you have provided for us over the years.
Thank you. It's been a wonderful ride.
It's a fantastic body of work.
Thank you. I've been pretty lucky, I have to say, looking back. But the time has come.
Yeah. Okay.
As the bishop said to the actress.
Well, we can only, Neil, congratulate you on your achievements and wish you all the very best in prosperity in retirement. And any hobby you might undertake.
Neil Ward, ladies and gentlemen.